So the story I always tell people, especially in individual meetings, talking with someone who's like, what is this? What's going on? Is that like the first moment I realized that this work was for me. I was an empty nester. My kids had just left home. I'd always been deeply involved in the church, in the schools, and volunteering. And honestly, at church, I was like, is there anything still here for me? And I did a year-long leadership class, and at the end of that, the minister came to me and said, I keep getting these emails from this sponsoring committee thing. I don't know what it's about. Would you go see and let me know if this is something our church wants to do? So I went to that first meeting. They'd been meeting for about 9 months at that time, the sponsoring committee. And when I walked in, there was a pretty diverse group, and as they introduced themselves, it was clergy people from a wide variety of churches. And that really surprised me because Tulsa's in the Bible Belt. There's a church on every corner. I had never seen or really heard much about interfaith work in the city. So I was intrigued right there from the start, this incredible diversity of religious traditions in this room. And then as they talked more, the second thing that really struck me is that they focused on local issues. I wouldn't have known how to articulate it, but I think I understood that all politics is local. That's where you start. That's what really affects people's lives. So when they started talking about we take on local issues, what matters in our city, even though we're in a network, nobody tells us what to take on. So that was the third thing, or the second thing. But the third thing that really caught my attention and moved me, I'm an educator, I'm a teacher, school librarian. And when they started talking about that the whole purpose is not necessarily to solve issues, but to develop people, like I was in, because that's the point of education, is to help people develop their fullest potential, even if they haven't seen it for themselves. And that idea that you could connect with people whose voices had been silenced, people who had leadership that just never had that opportunity, and help them reach that potential. So those three things, and I was in. I've always been a voter, right? That's what I do. I go vote. I'm a good citizen. But I never understood the accountability piece, the idea that the people you vote for should be then responsive to you. So I'd always missed that accountability piece. And this work really helped me understand that in politics it has to be two ways. It should be, right? It's kind of the ideal world. But it also taught me how to push for that, how to gain that accountability with my elected officials. The other thing that it really changed is my understanding of power. So I can think about one of our very first trainings when you do the institutions, and someone says, well, who has power? It's like, oh, the voters, because they vote for people. And not quite. And so then as you start to more deeply understand where the power, the decision making lies, like that completely turned my thinking on its head and taught me to look deeper, right? It seems so obvious. I vote, I have power. Yeah, not so much. The one thing I think about with this work, and this is something that especially new people struggle with, is that it's the slow and steady. My church, people come to us all the time and they're like, I want to do something, I want to work with you. And when we start talking about, well, here's what that might look like, tell us your story, and they're like, no, just give me something to do. So we've been in Tulsa for 10 years, and we've really struggled with connecting broadly across the city. There is a lot of division in the city, and rightly so. The 1921 race massacre, it was the 100th anniversary, and it was very much on people's minds. Our city very much was involved in 287G, and I work in a school with undocumented people, and more than once, parents would come get their children because something had happened that made them feel unsafe, and they weren't sure that one parent or another might not be around. So there's been a lot of mistrust, and our organization mostly started with white people in one part of the city. So it always, it was like so hard to build that trust. But we've been working at it for 10 years. And just having those conversations, practicing listening, right? Sitting back and really trusting in other people's experiences, and for them to understand that, what do you want to do? What matters to you, and how can we support you? And for me, because I've had a very privileged life, I learn so much more when others share their lived experience with me. The challenges that other people have faced are much greater than I've had to deal with. And so understanding, trying to connect with other people's perspective is probably not something I was very good at or sought out opportunities for before this work. So I think that's helped me realize that, my lived experience is very different from a lot of other people's. So now, 10 years later, we have finally connected with a group of Hispanic, Spanish Catholics that has a lot of potential for being able to work together. And then this week, we are getting our first dues check from an African American group. And so now the onus is on us, right, to walk our talk and find ways, how do we make sure that our organization continues to build equity, to listen to other people's experiences. So that's our challenge now. Like, we're getting there, but how do we live that now with integrity?
What brings you the most joy?
I've really enjoyed the one-on-ones, connecting with people. With the pandemic, I've really gotten out of that habit. And so being here today has really reminded me, like, this is what brings me joy, is connecting with someone one-on-one, and to see people, how they respond when you show that genuine interest in going beyond just the surface things. Asking them, like, the why, tell me more, and how did you feel about that? People aren't used to being approached that way, and so you kind of see them, light up, and that really gives me energy. Today has really made me think about the power of passing on those traditions, of paying attention to those who came before, understanding what they've done, and then thinking about how to build on that.